Hey guys, welcome to Constitution Class 40. Today we are talking about the 20th Amendment, and we're gonna get to we're gonna complete the Constitution. But if it's not this week, then it'll probably be next week. But it's about 2:40 right now. So if you want to jump ahead to the start of the class, it'll be in about the 20-minute mark of the video. So just gonna let people come on in. This is our time where we just kind of just chit chat. So if you want to just jump ahead of the class, it'll be in about the 20-minute mark. So let's see who we have here. Anybody in here yet? Hmm. Nobody yet. Nobody who wants to talk anyway. Now, there's my most favorite person of all. And Tiffany, how are you, Tiffany? I know. Hello, Chris. Still, Amy. I don't know if you saw the message that I sent you. Hmm. Yeah. But I am Amy. I my order process for that stuff. The the stuff I was telling you about. So I will I will probably be sending you some of that when it arrives. Just see if it helps you. My shirt says most of the problems we face are caused by politicians creating solutions to problems they originally created. Mm. Well, it's not me, Chris. That's it was Walter Williams. Walter Williams said that. Did I screw that up? I screwed it up. Look at I messed his name up. Not Will A. Imes. Hello, Monica. Um, let's see. Sorry, my phone's blown up. And the war hamster is in the house.
What's happening, Mr. Partain?
Hmm. Just
You are
huh?
you were quick on the trigger. I was in that waiting room for almost a whole second.
Yeah, I was right there. I was. They were asking me what my shirt says, but as soon as you could see it,
What does it say?
most of the problems we face are caused by politicians creating solutions to problems they originally created.
It said Walt Williams, huh?
Walter Williams.
So that's probably written how long ago?
Oh, recently, probably within the last 20, 30 years.
No, it happens to be true.
Oh, it's very true.
Almost Hegelian dialectic, huh?
You think? So I got to go to. I went to. I went to go see Nino this weekend.
Hey, you said that. You said you're going.
Yeah, and I was gonna. Something happened, and I was just gonna go straight there, and then I said, I'm going to. I decided that I would extend it a little bit. I was originally going to go see Nicole in Clovis,
Mm-hmm.
but then situation I kind of got short on time and I couldn't go. But then I expanded it out a little bit, just enough that I could go up to see. I wanted to go see Las Vegas because Las Vegas, New Mexico, that's where they filmed Red Dawn. So
Okay.
I went to go there, and then from there I drove down to Roswell. So now I can check off that I've been to Roswell.
Did you see any alien? Did you see any aliens?
No, I did not see any aliens. And then from there I went to Alamogordo and White Sands. I was torn between going down to the caverns or going to Alamogordo, and my desire was to see the caverns, but I just didn't have the time.
How many days were you gone?
I left on Friday and got back Monday morning. So
it's a pretty quick trip.
Yeah.
All right, I think I got my lighting and everything figured out. What did I do all weekend? I went to the Constitution Association dinner with Doug.
How was that, by the way?
It was fun. It was good. Had a couple of good speakers. And
did we ever get the thing situated with G. Edward Griffin?
No, we haven't gotten it scheduled yet. I would have told you. That's I've been busy. Doug's been busy, but it needs to get done. I was hoping to get it done this week, but I'm buried right now. So, but I will make that happen sooner rather than later, because we're going to air the taped version. And I'd like to be able to do both in the same week. What do we got going on today? Got the 20th Amendment, end of it, right?
Yeah, so we're gonna do the 20th Amendment, and then possibly finish, but I don't think we're going to. I just don't think we're going to.
No, I wouldn't think so. Plus, you and I can make sure that doesn't happen. Just go chase some rabbits. So it looks like the special master, looking at the Mar-a-Lago raid documents, completely defied the judge's orders, and basically saying they're all classified. That wasn't what he was supposed to be doing. Yeah, Julie Kelly's been following that really well. Have you heard yet what's going on in Russia? Well, then I got a fun little news flash for you.
What happened?
Looks like they're closing down airports. Putin's scheduled to make a major announcement tonight, but it got postponed till the morning. The Donbass region, separatist regions, are voting for a referendum to join the Russian Federation. And there's a lot of rumors out there that Russia is going to fully mobilize send their entire army to finish off Ukraine. And there's also rumors yesterday that there are Chinese troops seen in Ukraine. So major escalation going on over there. And of course, there are shills with all kinds of false information all over the place, fake news everywhere. So be very careful, everyone, when you read about this one.
Well,
check your sources more than usual.
Well, Trump said the other day in his speech that it was that China would definitely, or that China will be going into Taiwan. I mean, he said it multiple times. So not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah, but their wins could be 30 years from now. They play a very long game. But things are heating up over there.
No, they don't have the time. China doesn't have the time. They are on a clock because of their one-child policy.
I'm the one who broke that one down for you about a month or so ago.
Well,
but they got it. They're not going to do anything until they have their big national conference to re-elect Xi. That's about a month and a half away. I think it's late October. Tracy, I saw it on the internet. It must be true. Tracy also says the migrants have filed a class action lawsuit against DeSantis, for human trafficking, and so the people in Mar-a-Lago are guilty of the exact same thing. Because did they not put them on transportation and send them elsewhere? Is Biden not guilty of the same thing? That one's not going to fly. And just before I came on the air, I found there's a big headline. One of your clickbait headlines went by, but it was pretty funny. It looks like DeSantis is sending his next plane of illegal aliens to Delaware, Biden's home. That'll get a reaction.
I don't know. I'm not I know I'm in the minority here, but I don't know. My spidey sense something's wrong with that situation with DeSantis. Everybody loves him, and
not alone. We've been talking about this ad nauseum for months.
I don't know. Something's off.
When the establishment Republicans and the Democrat Party and the mainstream media are all pushing this guy as a candidate, as an alternative to Trump, look, he's been a heck of a governor. He's done a really good job as a governor, and that's one thing. My friends in Florida love him as a governor. I go, but that's different than being a president and taking on the deep state. And I don't remember him being a champion of individual liberty when he was in Congress.
In Congress, exactly.
Yeah.
It's easy to do it now when everybody's wanting it to be that way. But where were you 20 years ago when we needed you, or 10, 15 years ago when Anyway, it's just me.
No, it is not just you. That has been a very frequent topic of conversation. Look, I'll keep an open mind on the guy, but
I saw a very interesting article about it was kind of controversial by a guy named David Cole, and he was very critical of DeSantis and Trump. Well, he's basically saying that he was very critical of Tucker Carlson, and he was talking about the major battle that's upcoming is between DeSantis fans and Trump fans, or DeSantis and Trump.
Well, have you seen the polls?
Mm-mm.
Every single time they poll Republican voters, it's like 70% Trump, 25 DeSantis, and a few others. It's not close in the Republican Party.
I'll send this to you. You can read it yourself.
All right, I'm looking up was Ron DeSantis, Skull and Bones. I'm getting a couple people saying no. There was a rumor, though. I don't have any source that I trust. And I did not see him when I actually did that report on American fascists. I went through the list of Skull and Bones of well-known names. I did not see his name on that. I'm going to go with a no on Skull and Bones until proven otherwise. How's that sound, Tracy? But I'll tell you some people who were Skull and Bones. Oh, George Bush, the founder of Time and Life magazine. Oh God, that's all kinds of. Let me track down that list. We got time for that.
We got plenty of time. Are we taking bets today?
Yeah, may as well. I'm gonna go 259.
I'll go 258.
I got my Skull and Bones list coming up in 1 second.
It is 256 right now. So,
you guys ready for a list of Skull and Bones?
fire away.
Founder Alphonso Taft, co-founder, built the links that ties these people together. He was Ulysses Grant's Secretary of War and Attorney General. You got William Russell, who's a co-founder. His family made its money in the opium trade. The Russell Trust still manages the Skull and Bone assets to this day. Morrison Waite, 1837, future Supreme Court Justice. William H. Taft, 1878, the only person to serve as both POTUS and SCOTUS. Harold Stanley, 1908, co-founder of Morgan Stanley. William Averill Harriman, 1913, son of railroad tycoon E.H. Harriman, one of the founders of Brown Brothers Harriman, which was the Wall Street bank who financed the Nazis. Prescott Bush, 1916, also founder of Brown Brothers.
Tracy wins the day.
I didn't get through the list.
Finish your list.
I'll do the quick one. Robert Lovett, Prescott Bush, Henry Luce, that was the founder of Time, George Herbert Walker Jr., founder of the New York Mets, James Jesus Angleton, CIA counterintelligence chief, and he was the guy on the Warren Commission who investigated JFK assassination. Potter Stewart, 1937, future SCOTUS justice. McGeorge Bundy, national security advisor to Kennedy and LBJ, the driving force behind the Vietnam War. Also the brother of Bonesman William Bundy, State Department liaison for the Bay of Pigs invasion. George H.W. Bush, 1948. William Buckley, 1950, founder of the American Conservative Movement and the National Review. Jonathan James Bush, 1953, son of Prescott Bush. He's an international banker in D.C. John Kerry, 1966. George W. Bush, 1968. Stephen Schwareman, in 1969. He's the CEO of the Blackstone Group and currently the second largest landowner in the United States. You got Dana Milbank, 1990, who a columnist for Washington Post who only covered Bush and Obama.
Yes.
And, of course, Austin
Monica
Goolsbee.
Buckley.
And the last one is Peter Thiel.
Oh, I did not know Peter Thiel was on that list.
That might not be on the list. I might have him on my Sullivan and Cromwell alumni list. I may have had that backwards.
What list were you going through?
Skull and Bones.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone's always surprised with Buckley. He's supposed to be this great conservative.
You have absolute proof?
Yeah, it's pretty well documented.
Oh yeah.
When I did that research, I was Ron and I were talking quite a bit when I did the research, and we double checked the heck out of it.
Yep. Sorry, Doug. Doug's disappointed.
No, people change, people grow, people do things in their lives that they may or may not agree with. Try to escape.
Well, you can try to justify it all you want. It's not just change the fact that he was in Skull and Bones. And typically, when you're in a secret society like that, you don't really change because if you do change, they have things on you that they will release to the public to
I
keep
understand.
you. Yeah.
Well, so, you also, we said Henry Lucy, the founder of Time Magazine, Life Magazine, and Sports Illustrated. You would have thought he's a pretty straight shooter, but then you start looking at some of the people over history that Time and Life featured on their covers, Adolf Hitler 8 times, and you start to see a pattern. And I think if you go back and look at some of the things Buckley stood for as this great conservative, do they stand up to our current version of constitutionalism and, where the country's been in the last 50 years? I think it's fair to question it.
I agree.
Well, it's the top of the hour, so
It is the top of the hour.
it's time to
Doug
get
doesn't
started.
know what to say.
No, I know what to say. I'm just waiting for all the discussion to die down or whatnot.
Oh.
It's good to see you guys. I've been I've been home. I didn't go to lunch and I quit class actually on time. I didn't let anybody talk to me in the parking lot. I ran out as quick as I can because I was supposed to have my lesson plan for my students, homeschool high schoolers, done by Sunday night. I told them I'd get it to them by the end of the weekend for Thursday's class, and I haven't finished it because I had a big event Saturday. Then I went to an event in West Covina on Sunday, and as Warhamster knows, I was on my way home quite late in the evening compared to when I wanted to be and had planned to be. So I've been working on that lesson plan yesterday morning, this morning, and came home as early as I could today so I could work on it. And so I'm in chapter 2. And also, the lesson plan is also, what I'm writing is also what will become my U.S. history textbook. They're getting it digitally, one chapter at a time, but ultimately it will be a book. And so chapter 2 is called Before Discovery, and the bulk of it is about the Saxons. And so I've been digging back into all of my research about the Saxons, and I'm being reminded of a lot of things that I had forgotten. And so it's been a lot of fun going back through all this history and the Saxons, and not just the Saxons, but the Angles and the Jutes and the Holy Roman Empire and Charlemagne and a lot of this other garbage that was going on. And I'm getting ready to write about how once Anglo-Saxon Britain united under one banner finally, and then began to call themselves England. They had one more giant threat to deal with. Not each other, as it had been for hundreds of years, but a new threat, a hornet's nest that had been stirred by Charlemagne, the Vikings. So all this is before discovery, because I want people to understand where the kids to understand really where our system of liberty came from with the Saxon influence and all that, and the Christian influence, which began with King Edwin, who was actually one of the Northumbrian Anglos. But Anglos and the Saxons had a lot in common, although the Saxon system was really the one that dominated ultimately. But anyway, that all said, a little bit of side history there. When I get this book out there, I wrote a new government textbook, because when I went started looking for a textbook, couldn't find one. Same thing with history, and so I'm writing my own textbook, and the government textbook wound up being like 500 plus pages, and it was bigger than I thought it was going to be. As I write this one, I'm realizing it's going to be bigger than the government textbook. But anyway, so that's all that. Welcome to the program. We took a little detour, a vacation from the Constitution last week to have some discussions about a number of things, including 9/11 and a little bit about the Patriot Act. But I'm glad we're back on course today. We've got maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, depends on how we get through it, what's left on with these constitutional amendments. Then when we get to the end, I think Ron. See, I gotta do this right. Ron, the Storm Chaser.
Whatever.
Oh, by the way, I have to tell you, the whole audience, but I tried to call you, Ron. I don't know if you noticed.
When?
Like last night.
Yeah.
But anyway,
if it was after 7 o'clock, it didn't come through.
it was. But anyway, so I wound up calling Warhamster and my friend Nacho over it. But you were the person I wanted to tell this to, so I'm gonna tell you this live so everybody can hear it. So while I was in West Covina, I did something that nobody else I know of has ever done, and succeeded at in the manner that I did it. I purposely insulted the whole room at the beginning of my speech. Purposely insulted all of them, and then walked out not only unscathed, but thanked, appreciated, and patted on the back. Are you curious?
I am very curious.
All right, so it's in West Covina, which is in LA County, for those of you who are not in California, Los Angeles County. And before I'm invited as the first speaker, I'm kind of the setup man. It's a candidate forum, and I'm basically there to get the candidates, give them a high bar to reach, in their speeches. And before I'm brought up, the person who's introducing the evening and all of that, and she says, well, a number of groups brought us together. There are Republicans here, there are independents here, and there are about 30 Democrats in the room. There was like 100 people in the room. And she says, politically we are diverse. We are also diverse in who we are. We have all the races and ethnicities and, the different diversity, variety of ethnicities and so forth in the room. Welcome to all of you. But there is one thing we do have in common, she says. We're all Dodger fans.
Ah!
So the room emerges into applause. The whole room is applauding, cheering, and, Dodger fans. So then I'm given the mic, and I get up in front of the stage, and I say, I'm from Riverside County, and I'm an Angels fan. Now I get it. And you kind of hear, right, in the room. So I'm like, no, I get it. We're the little brother, the Dodgers are the big brother, and I get it. The Dodgers have the largest fan base. That's just because of all of the felons. You could not hear a pin drop. And the looks on a few faces that I was able to gander real quick were not favorable.
It's probably not true that I don't think you've been to an Angel game recently, Todd.
Okay, let me finish my story, and then you can spew your misinformation. Anyway, yeah, I know that's probably like going to a Charger game when the Raiders are there, right? But anyway, so then I launch into my speech, and I explain, a little bit about history and the Great Awakening and the Revolution, the Declaration of Independence, Constitution. I even go through the major wars and all of the other things, major events in the history of the United States. And then after I go through those things, I explain to the crowd, you've heard of BLM, right? And everybody's like, oh, yeah. And I say, Bureau of Land Management. They laugh. I say, okay, yeah, Black Lives Matter too. Well, there's a third BLM. Because liberty matters. And then I go back through the history I gave them real quickly. The Pilgrims came to America because liberty matters. The Great Awakening occurred because liberty matters. James Otis stood before that court claiming that a man's house is his castle and spoke out against writs of assistance because liberty matters. Jefferson, Adams, all those guys wrote the Declaration of Independence, and the war was fought because liberty matters. The Constitution was written because liberty matters. We fought the War of 1812 because liberty matters. Slavery was abolished because liberty matters. We fought 2 world wars, Korea, Vietnam, Middle East, because liberty matters. And today we have candidates who claim to be patriots and want to fight for this country because liberty matters. But you candidates, be aware. I'm paying attention. I will hold you accountable, and everybody in this room is paying attention, and they will hold you accountable. And constitutional principles need to be at the forefront of what you're doing. We expect you to follow that because liberty matters. I wound up getting well, you were the best speaker and all that later on. But so after insulting the entire room over the Dodgers, I got congratulations, pats on the back, and a thank you and appreciation. So I just don't know if anybody's been able to do that in that manner. Now, before we get started on the Constitution and 20th Amendment, Ron, the Storm Chaser, wants to say something about Angel Stadium.
No, I'll say about Angel Stadium, but I think that Angels fans are given this. Oh well, they're Orange County and it's all nice and clean and conservative. It's like you don't realize that there's a lot of people who like red and the Angels that aren't Dodgers fans, but they are equally as bad as Dodger fans.
See, that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that thugs say to try to get eyes off of their thuggery, which is fine.
So we got a thing we got a thing in San Diego. We actually don't take your lady to a Padre game when the Dodgers are in town because there's too many fights in the stands. It's the only team that comes down here where that happens. Same
thing with the Angels.
There's
a fight in the stands, but they try to outnumber us in the stadium.
They do a pretty good job of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even when the Padres are selling out, when the Dodgers are in town, it's about 50-50 at best.
Yeah. Almost every game the Dodgers play is a home game.
I don't go to Dodgers games anymore at Dodger Stadium. I used to every once in a while, but I won't do it anymore because I don't have a bulletproof vest anymore. But when I get another one, I might consider going to the games there at Dodger Stadium.
Like I said, almost every game is a Dodgers home game.
Tracy says we need Because Liberty Matters t-shirts. I agree. I've been thinking about it. I haven't figured out the design yet.
Well, let me just jump in and say Doug at my request did an appearance where first time he did the Because Liberty Matters speech.
That's the second time, by the way, I've done that.
Okay. The first time he did it, when I saw it, was easily the best speech he'd ever done. I thought it was great. I've been looking forward to seeing that one again.
All right, very good.
We also got to get that one recorded.
I tweaked it a little bit to improve it. I want to do a Because Liberty Matters shirt, and also, and I've already seen the shirt out there, so someone stole my idea, but I still want to make one. Only women shave below the neck. Just me. All right.
Okay.
I don't know where that one came from.
I don't either.
I think it's hilarious. Okay, well, at least I'm laughing.
Okay.
I will say this. I did during the playoffs of 2002 when the Angels and Yankees were playing each other. I wore my Angels hat the entire time I was on that whole trip. Every state I went to, even in New York City, and I actually stood in front of Yankee Stadium. Got pictures, from my wife, me standing in front of the stadium while I'm wearing an Angels hat, while the Angels are playing the Yankees in the playoffs. What was funny is when we went up to Boston, Massachusetts, all that area, New England, normally Red Sox fans and Angel fans are also not exactly the best of friends. But while the Angels were playing the Yankees, the Boston fans were Angels fans. Because as much as they hated the Angels, they hate the Yankees more. It was hilarious. I'm getting stopped by Red Sox fans. Tell me about the players, man. I don't know them all, and it was a lot of fun. But anyway.
I will say this, that East Coast baseball fans are far more knowledgeable about baseball than West Coast fans.
Well, man, you can buy baseball cards at the donut shop out there. Here you got to go to a baseball card shop, and maybe you'll find some at Walmart.
Used to buy them at 7-Eleven.
I used to buy them at a little corner mart in Bellflower and North Long Beach when I used to walk to get my baseball cards.
Let's talk about the Constitution.
Oh yeah, there is that. There is that too.
Yeah, I told you we're only 15 minutes in now.
Yeah, only. Thanks a lot. I had to tell my story, man,
Okay. Why don't you come? Why don't you come early and then tell your story?
because I have to work.
Oh, okay. What time did you get home today?
105.
Oh, okay. So the class starts at 3. So you
Yeah, so I've
can't get
been
on.
I've been working on my
Oh, okay. Okay.
lesson plan for Thursday for my homeschool high schoolers because that was due Sunday night, from according to
Okay.
my
Let
number, what
let's
I
talk.
said.
Let's talk about the Constitution.
Yeah, stop. All right. Yeah, usually we're trying to shut you up. This is interesting. Um,
I'm just sitting back and enjoying this one.
yeah. Oh, Brady. All right. 20th Amendment. So we've gone through 19 amendments. Well, actually 20 if you want to count the 21st Amendment, because we did repeal prohibition a couple weeks ago, too. We've gone through the first 7 articles. We've gone through all of that. Now we've gotten to the 20th Amendment. And that here's the thing. We've got the presidential election and the presidency and all that is established in Article 2. With the 12th Amendment, they realize we got some problems with the election. We're going to have to tweak it. Now they realize again, not necessarily problems, but is still some tweaking that needs to be done, some fixing. So the 20th Amendment is really about presidential elections and the presidency and all of that jazz. And not only the election, but once the president is in office, a few things that needs to be done. And we're going to see one more tweak before we get done with the Constitution in the 25th Amendment. So the presidency and the presidential elections are probably the most tweaked parts of government.
I'm
There
still
is.
here. I'm still here.
No, I realize that. I know babies, when they close their eyes, thinks the whole world
Oh,
disappears. But
no. I have to do something. Go ahead.
you could have said nothing, and I would have never even said anything. All right. God, well, this will never get going. So, reading the 20th Amendment, the terms of the president and vice president shall end at noon on the 20th day of January. Prior to that, it was March 4th. Prior to that, it was in December. So, when they moved it to March 4th, that's one hell of a lame duck session. So, they moved it back a little bit to an earlier period again. So our current inauguration day, January 20th, was created by the 20th Amendment, which was ratified in 1933. Understand, this is during Franklin Delano Roosevelt, right about the time he was getting in there, and or being elected. No, actually, did he take office yet? Yeah, I think he did. But anyway, and so they moved it to January 20th. It's been there ever since. Then it says, on the terms of senators and representatives at noon on the 3rd day of January. Before that, the Congress critters took office or took their seats the same day as the president. So here they decided to move it a little over 2 weeks prior to the inauguration of the president. So when the president comes into office, the new Congress has already been in office a couple weeks. Before, like I said, it all happened on the same day. This says, of years in which such terms would have ended if this article had been ratified. It's just dealing with the current Congress and how they decided to do it. And the terms of their successors shall then begin. Section 2. This is a repeat of one of my favorite lines in the Constitution. The Congress shall assemble at least once in every year. Now, when I first mentioned that in Article 1, I have to remind everybody there were those in the convention who argued that was too often, because the federal government had such limited power. The attitude was, well, what are we going to do? I mean, unless we're at war, there's nothing for Congress. There's no authority. All we handle is external issues, war, trade, things like that. Now we have a Congress that is so embedded into our daily lives that they're not only there every day, darn near, but they think they should be there more often doing more things. I mean, they're passing some of the stupidest laws, and not just federal, but also, state. One of them, I was just thinking about this today. I believe in Sacramento did it, is, and gentlemen, you may have seen this. You come up to your stoplights, and I've mentioned this before, I think, on the show, and they got those yellow, trims now around the stoplight.
Yep.
Rectangular. So you can see it better. What a waste of money. They said, well, it'll save lives. Probably not. People aren't stupid. They know where the light is. They can see it, and besides it's so high, it's above your headlights anyway. It's a stupid waste of money. It's not necessary. And the thing is, this is what drives me nuts about government. They're only supposed to pass necessary laws, but they think their job is about, it's almost like it's a race. Who can get the most laws, passed? Who can get the most bills out there?
Well,
That guy wasn't very effective. He only had one bill become a law. It's not a race.
That's what they sell on the campaign trail. They go, if I get in, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And they have to live up to their campaign. Well, theoretically, they have to live up to their campaign promises.
And 90% of it are either unnecessary laws or, in the federal case, unconstitutional. Unnecessary, unconstitutional. You'll government in your life as little as possible.
You'll appreciate my shirt today, Doug.
Okay, make your box bigger so I can read it.
It says, most of the problems we face are caused by politicians creating solutions to problems they originally created.
That's true.
And
you don't want to put it on the bigger screen here so it'll be easier to read?
Right. I've already done it twice. I
don't have mine on full screen, so you're like, this itty-bitty little box.
Well, Doug, these days, to get to run for serious office, you've got to get an awful lot of campaign contributions. Those campaign contributions come with strings attached. Those strings are to pass bills that benefit the people who gave you the money. We live in a bribocracy.
Well, gosh, Warhamster, I wish there was a way we could get the money out of politics.
Boy, it sure would be nice if someone came up with an amendment to do that.
Now, you've told this audience before, right? Your idea?
I may have. I'll do the 30-second version if you want to hear it.
Please do.
All right. To get the money out of politics is very simple. You pass an amendment that says campaign contributions can only be made by registered voters. Those have to be individuals who can actually vote. This kills the idea of the corporations are people. They're obviously not people because corporations can't vote. So that's the first part of it. The second part is that campaign contributions cannot cross state or county lines depending on the election. That way, people in Arizona can't vote for San Diego or a California congressman and vice versa. Everyone agrees that foreign interference in elections is bad. And you keep the existing campaign contribution limits. They seem to work. And that includes the in-kind contributions. There you go. You just basically defunded and defanged the national political party system cartel and made our elections local and fair.
There's an awful lot of purveyors of illegitimate monies that will probably be upset with you.
I'm used to that. I am used to that.
So Congress shall assemble at least once in every year, and such meetings shall begin at noon on the 3rd day of January, unless they shall by law appoint a different day. If at the time fixed for the beginning of the term of the president-elect shall have died, so this will answer your question if Biden had died after being elected but before being inaugurated, the vice president-elect shall become president. Notice it doesn't say serve as president or act as president. That's the way it was before. Prior to this amendment, the language used was they will act as president until there's like a replacement. No, now it says that if after elected, after winning the election, if the guy who's going to be president dies before inauguration, the vice president doesn't act as president, the vice president becomes president. Now we know with later readings, 25th Amendment specifically, that then the vice president, once in office as president, would then nominate, in today's world, nominate the new vice president, and then both houses would have to approve that nomination, confirm it. If a president shall not have been chosen before the time fixed for the beginning of his term, well, this has 2020 written all over it, or if the president-elect shall have failed to qualify, this has Obama written all over it, in addition to others, the way it should have been, then the vice president-elect shall act as president until a president shall have qualified.
How
So-
would they know who the vice president elect is?
We need
Because
to be,
because they're separate elections, remember?
just
Oh,
be
back-
careful with what
Yes,
we're saying.
I know. That's the
We need to
reason
be
why
careful.
yeah. Just like I love the way the Citizen 1776 does it on one particular thing. He says the 17th letter of the alphabet. But anyway, don't worry. I know where to tread, I think. But if I don't, it'd be nice to know you guys were out here. No, I'm kidding. So notice here, though, that if it's death, the vice president becomes president. But if there's a problem with eligibility, if there's a problem with qualification, if there's a problem with, something not happening, then the vice president acts as president until there's a replacement. How do they know who's vice president? Because the vice president and the president both have already been elected. The vice president-elect and the president-elect are in separate elections, and they know who it is. But if the president-elect, it turns out, is not qualified after being elected, then they will allow the vice president, if that's not fulfilled or figured out in time, the inauguration day, the vice president acts as president until they can replace the president. Then it says, and the Congress may by law provide for a case wherein, now remember also, while this is in play, there's more details in the 25th Amendment when we get there. And the Congress may by law provide for the case wherein neither a president-elect nor a vice president-elect shall have qualified, declaring who shall then act as president. Now, this does not have to do with electoral votes. This has to do with qualifications. This is one of the arguments that's being used against the Kamala Harris case. See, it's up to Congress to determine who is eligible. If they believe that the states screwed it up and didn't stop a candidate, they can, at the last second, say, well, they're not qualified, they can't take office. Then they can declare who shall then, as president, or in the manner in which the one is to act, how they shall be elected, and such person shall act accordingly until a president or vice president shall have qualified. In other words, we don't have a president, we don't have vice president, so they'll pick someone to fill the spot until we've got those people. Once again, 20th Amendment has been tweaked since then with the 25th Amendment, and the language is even clearer. Congress may by law provide for the case of the death of any of the persons from whom the House of Representatives may choose a president whenever the right of choice shall devolve upon them. Let me read that again because I remember what I say about it, but I want to make sure I've got that right. The Congress may by law provide for the case of the death of any of the persons from whom the House of Representatives may choose a president whenever the right of choice, and for the case of death of any persons who whom may choose whenever. I want to make sure I have this right because I've always explained it as meaning. Let me say what I've always explained as meaning. As I'm reading it now in my older years, I'm like wondering if that's exactly what they mean. Now I got to go back to all of my notes to answer my own questions. I hate it when I do this to myself. Basically, what happens is if there is a death, the choice is supposed to go back to Congress. The House will choose the president. The Senate will choose the vice president. That's what it's basically saying. But because of the way it's worded, I want to go back for myself later on and get some more clarification. That's basically what it means.
Doug, is that one vote per state when
Yes.
it's at the House? That is one vote per
House
state.
is one vote per state. Senate for the vice president is one vote per senator.
And where is that provided for? The House part.
12th Amendment and Article 2.
So it carries over.
Mm-hmm. Section 5, Sections 1 and 2 take effect on the 15th day of October following the ratification of this article. And then it says, this article shall be inoperative until it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of 3/4 of several states within 7 years of the date of its submission. Early amendments, you didn't see that within 7 years thing. they didn't put those time limits on them. For example, that one of the Bill of Rights is still floating around out there. And if they decided to ratify it, it could still be ratified. But these later amendments, they put these limits on them. Hey, if they're not ratified within 7 years, they're gone. The ERA Amendment, the Equal Rights Amendment, the Women's Rights Amendment, originally was given that 7-year requirement. It did not get ratified within 7 years, so it went back to Congress, and they proposed an amendment to the amendment, which extended that to 10 years. And in the next 3 years, which would have been a total of 10 years, ratification still never happened, and so they gave up on it.
Okay, now that you're done with the 20th, I've got 2 rabbit trails for you on that topic, if I may.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. Right now, Liz Cheney is introducing an election bill to avoid, quote unquote, to avoid a repeat of January of the 2020 election. Basically, what it says, they would change how Congress counts presidential electors to reduce the chances of another effort to overturn election results like Trump did. Co-sponsored with Democrat Zoe Lofgren, the legislation would direct challenges of state elections to the courts and limit the vice president's role in electoral vote counting as ministerial. Is that constitutional? Don't they need an amendment to do that?
Well, there's actually 2 things. Number one, yeah, they would have to amend it when it came to the vice president's role. As for changing how the electors are chosen or how they're how they can be certified or decertified, not only is that would be required to be a constitutional amendment, but also that's not their choice anyway. It's all about the state legislatures.
Okay, well that's
state role.
Agreed, and that segues into my second rabbit trail. There is a Supreme Court case coming up. They've agreed to hear, called Moore v. Harper, and they are basically going to rule whether the state legislatures have final say in who their electors are, or whether the courts can intervene or Congress can intervene.
Once again, we need an amendment. The courts are not mentioned in the process at all in the Constitution. It's none of their business.
Well, it looks like this Supreme Court is going to rule in favor of the state legislatures, and the impact is pretty profound because we had 7 states in 2020 that sent dual sets of electors, and the state legislatures are the ones who sent the alternative electors. And if the court rules in their favor, it is feasible that we have got a constitutional crisis on our hands going back to the 2020 election. It's also seriously going to impact the rules for the 2024 elections. You will have state legislatures able to say no mail-in ballots, and there's nothing the courts can do about it.
Right.
It's a very important case. So keep an eye on.
And I think it's right on target in that sense. But also, what's interesting is you talk about the dual electors. The original intent was one set of electors. Typically, the state legislatures would choose the electors, but it doesn't say specifically that that's what they do. It says that they choose the method of choosing the electors. And so what most of the states would do originally, rather than just the state legislatures just choosing all the electors, is they would split the choosing electors up into groups. For the electors that are in existence because of the number of members of the House of Representatives, they would separate the state into that number of districts. Then those people in that district would choose their elector. The remaining 2 electors, the ones that were that exist because of the Senate, one choice would be given to the state House of Representatives. The other choice would be given to the state Senate. That way, the people got their choices, and each house got their choice, and then the electors voted for president based on that. So while the people did not vote popularly for the president in their district, they tended to, almost all the states, I think it was 1 or 2 that did it differently, but they tended to vote for their elector. So the elector would vote, hopefully, the way they want them to, and of course they'd campaign to the elector and all that as well, and also to the electors that were chosen by the state legislature. But what it says originally in Article 2 is that the state legislature chooses the method of choosing the electors. it's not for Congress or the courts to be involved in that in any way, shape, or form. At all. Nada. And the fact that we've got to have a case to decide whether it should go back to the state legislatures or let the courts have a say in it. Number one, I can't believe we're even having that discussion. And number two, who the courts think they are. There's nothing in the Constitution that gives them that authority. Nothing. They're not even supposed to be involved in elections whatsoever. Right down to the Chads back in 2000. None of the court's business. Gene is asking me to repeat how the electors get chosen. It is by the parties today. That is unconstitutional. That's not the way it's supposed to be, Gene. The way it was originally intended was it was up to the state legislatures to choose the method. How the majority of the states did it, almost all of them, was they set up the state into districts that equal the number of House of members of the House of Representatives, which also was influential on the number of electors. Because remember, the number of electors is based on how much representation a state has in Congress, members in the House and the 2 senators. The number that's in the House, the state would be broken up into that many districts. Then each district would vote for their elector. Then the remaining 2, the ones that were in place because of the Senate, the state Senate would choose one, and the state assembly or state house, depending on what you call it, would choose the other. And then the electors voted for president. There was no popular vote for the people, or by the people. It was by the electors. And it wasn't winner take all. So it was possible if there was 5 candidates for 5 different directions of the electoral votes to come out of a state. There was no winner take all garbage. Now, the Constitution doesn't lay it out. That's the way they did it. And I think we need to go back to the way they did it. The parties are choosing the electors. That's why there's dual sets. You have your Democratic electors, you have your Republican electors, and whoever wins the winner takes all, those are the electors that cast their vote, and it's really become just simply ceremonial. And the electors are not supposed to be ceremonial. Theirs is the actual vote. They're there for a reason. It drives me nuts what has happened to our electoral college. And if we were on that original way of doing it, first of all, we wouldn't be getting a lot of the dirt balls we get. And number 2, 2020 would not have happened. That erection would have stayed limp.
God. Oh, boy. Anyways.
Can you see the question on screen?
Yeah, that's what I just answered.
Okay.
You want him to answer it again?
Hopefully, Gene, that helps.
So anyways, if you go to
Tracy, you heard it here first.
if you all go to Epoch Times and Epoch TV and type in Moore v. Harper, just from last week, there's a couple of really good videos on it that talk about what the implications of that court case are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking forward to watching that one, because you want to talk about seeing heads explode. Oh boy. And if they rule on it before the November elections, I'm not sure if it could actually impact the midterms or not. I think that's undecided at this point, but
yeah,
it's coming up.
It's interesting too, the timing of it and all that. I am watching it. I didn't even know about it until you told me, so I appreciate that. The way War Hamster finds these things and pays attention to these things. If ever I make enough money, I've got to hire him, but I might not be able to afford him. So we'll see.
Well, it's real easy. What you do is you subscribe to every single news service on the planet and get their emails every day, and just spend an hour going through them and selectively clicking on which ones look worth viewing.
I don't have all of them, but I have a lot of them. But somehow that one did definitely go by me. My problem too is I get so busy that I get a few days behind. So you'll see the story before I will sometimes.
Yeah, that does happen.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I'm like 10 days behind on my email right now. So people are like, hey, did you get my email? When did you send it? 3 days ago. Nope, haven't gotten it yet, but I will.
Yeah, I get I get around 300 emails a day on average.
You get about how many?
I don't.
I get about
Sure.
300.
Dare I
300?
say that? Dare I say that I get about 1,500?
On all of my all of my emails combined, I get thousands, plural. Douglas V.
Well, I
Gibbs
do
at yahoo.com gets about 1,000 a day. Constitution Speaker at yahoo.com gets about 700 or 800 a day. My two personals get probably 200 or 300 a day each. Then I got two Proton Mail ones that I get probably a couple hundred each on. And then I've got my Gmail, which I get probably about 500 a day on. And then I've got my liberal, lefty, progressive one, which I get about 6 or 7 a day on.
You've got to learn this feature called unsubscribe.
Well, some of it is the Douglas V. Gibbs at yahoo.com. That is its problem. The rest of them, that's not it.
Amy, that would drive me nuts if I had. I cannot I cannot leave the computer with an unread email. That's like one of my pet
I'm the
peeves.
same way, and that's why sometimes I don't go to bed. Except for my personal, I'm willing to, because I know they're not as critical. Sometimes they are, but yeah. So I get a lot of email, but real quick, my progressive Democrat one I mentioned. I like to visit. I'm not really a troll per se, kind of. I'll go to Democrat websites and I'll make comments, but it's not like, you stupid idiot. I don't do that. I do it as a Democrat. But mostly just asking questions. I don't understand. What do you mean by that? Well, how come that's the truth? Stuff like that. That's kind of what I do. Now, I will admit, one time I used that email address on Rosie O'Donnell's website to tell her about some jerk over there at Political Pistachios writing hit pieces on her.
No, I spent a lot of time over on Media Matters, just making doing Socratic debate with them, and
kind of like I do with the questions, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the exact same. It took them about 6 years to finally ban me. That happened about 3 months ago. They finally, Media Matters. I'd have to come in with a fake email address to do it now.
Yeah, I've never done any time on Media Matters. And I say do time because that's what it feels like you're doing when you're on a liberal lefty website. You feel like you're doing time, but I do visit a few of the Newsbreak I think is my favorite. I think that I spend a lot of time on. But anyway, one time I actually had ticked off Alan Combs so bad that he started writing hit pieces on Political Pistachio, which was great. And we just started going back and forth. It was hilarious. But anyway, all right, let's get back on target here.
Oh, I was going to tell a quick story.
Go ahead.
You guys all know who Bill Mitchell is? Bill Mitchell is some pseudo-conservative, whatever, consultant, what have you, fake. Well, he tried to come on Patriots.win, where I spent a lot of time, and the denizens there chased him out so quickly that he's been crying about it for 3 months straight and wrote an article about how terrible we are. We called him names. I didn't. I tried to have a polite conversation and ask him why he was against the Second Amendment, but he got destroyed in there. So even conservatives aren't safe in our websites. It was a fun one.
Texts aren't as bad, Amy. I only get about anywhere between 20 to 40 a day. Then I get probably about a dozen to 2 dozen phone calls a day, which most of them I answer while I'm driving.
Well, stop driving.
Best time to talk to me is while I'm driving. Seriously.
All right, let's get back on track, Doug.
All right. So Congress may by law. No, so wait, we already did that. We already did. Yeah, we finished. We're on Amendment 22. Boy, you talk about bamboozling my brain. Yeah, we finished Amendment 20. Amendment 22. Okay, real quick. So we know about Franklin Delano Roosevelt, right? He got elected 4 times. He didn't serve the whole 4th term because he passed away early on in that term, but he got elected 4 times. Prior to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, no president had served more than 2 terms, and only 2 tried to get elected a 3rd time. Ulysses S. Grant, I don't remember the full situation, And Teddy Roosevelt, which I know the situation, Bull Moose Party, he divided the vote, Republican vote between him and Taft, which is what got Woodrow Wilson in office. Teddy had already served 2 terms. He was up for a 3rd term when he did that. Other than those 2, no president had ever even tried to get elected a 3rd time. Why? Because George Washington had established the tradition, the standard of only serving 2 terms. If George Washington was father of this country, from their point of view, why would anybody try to outdo him? It was just wrong. Father of the country, George Washington served 2 terms. Nobody should serve more. Then Franklin Delano Roosevelt comes along and wins 4 times. And the claim was, well, you don't want to change the leadership during a war, a world war, World War II. I suppose that seems okay on the surface. But actually, he hadn't gotten done all of his Hillary Clinton-style crap. And that's what it was. So after Roosevelt, the 22nd Amendment was proposed and ratified in 1951. Truman. No person shall be elected to the office of president more than twice. So, election, no more than 2 elections to president. And no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. So in other words, it's 2 terms or 10 years. So if, let's say, you were vice president, you took over the presidency, and you served more than 2 years of your predecessor, you could be elected 1 more time. You could not be elected again because that would put you over the 10 years. But if you, as vice president, became president after your predecessor had served more than 2 years and you served less than 2 years, then you would still have the opportunity to be elected twice because those 2 full terms, which equal 8 years, would be less, in addition to that less than 2 years, less than 10 years. So 2 years or 10 years is the new rule based on Amendment 22. Typically, when it comes to legislators, I'm not a big fan of term limits. I love term limits when it comes to executives. That's just me. But this article shall not apply to any person holding the office of president when this article was proposed by the Congress. Didn't apply to Truman, in other words. It shall not prevent any person who may be holding the office of president or acting as president during the term within which this article becomes operative from holding the office of president or acting as president during the remainder of such term. In other words, it's saying if for some reason the ratification of this didn't happen immediately, and let's say Truman was on his 3rd term, and it says you can't do more than be elected twice or 10 years, 2 terms or 10 years, and he's on his 3rd term, it's over 10 years, he's grandfathered in, and it does not affect him, is basically what it was saying. Truman did not serve that much, so it didn't matter in the long run. Section 2, this article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of 3/4 several states. So now it tells you how it has to be ratified. Not all of them do that. Remember, the 18th and 21st did. So it's saying it has to be done by the state legislatures. What's the difference? State legislatures vote, or it could go to a convention in which the delegates would be put in place by the citizens. And then those delegates would vote to ratify or not ratify. So, or act as president during the... Okay, this shall be inoperative till been ratified by amendment of the Constitution of the legislatures of 3/4 several states within 7 years from the date of submission to the states by the Congress. So that's the 22nd Amendment. Now, Gene, getting back to the earlier part of this amendment. So if Trump comes back as this next year, he can fulfill Biden's last 2 years and run again for 4 years in 2024. If it's less than 2 years of Biden's term, yes. But if he were to take back the presidency before the halfway mark, then no, he could not run again in 2024.
So I've got a fun little Truman anecdote, since he's the person who introduced the CIA. On Sunday, we celebrated the 75th anniversary of the Central Intelligence Agency, and I hope everyone celebrated just as much as I did.
Yeah, I celebrated it just like I celebrate Labor Day. I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, Ron, you threw a party,
I, c-
didn't you?
I
You can have a
can. I mean, well, if I would have known what it was, then I certainly would have celebrated by some way. I won't say on here, but I would have done something in honor of that date. Uh, it would have. I would have enjoyed it. I'm not sure that whatever I would do to whatever it is that I would do it to would have a very good day.
I've got this image in my head of printing out something that says anniversary and then using it as TP. But that's just me.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
Maybe incorporate some Tannerite or something.
I thought I knew how a sick mind thinks. It turns out it's sicker than I thought. But anyway, so go ahead. Anything else, Brady?
No, that was it. I'm all out of rabbits today.
You're all
I brought my 3.
out of rabbits. I love it. All right.
No,
there's
we didn't.
Nobody in their right
Tiffany,
mind that would want to be present right now. This is the reason things are the way they are now. No, but you know what? I did not skip the 21st, Tiffany. We talked about it last week. It repealed the 18th. Getting back to Derek. No, I know a lot of people that probably wouldn't mind running for president that are decent, but they just don't have the money or the name recognition, namely me. But that's beside the point.
Can I ask you a question there,
Sure.
Mr. Gibbs? And this is a political question. This is not a constitutional question.
Okay, so you
and
want
and,
the
and this goes out to War Hamster as well,
Okay.
because I have a thought on this, but I want to get your thoughts first. I know that everybody thinks that post Trump that many people believe that DeSantis is the next the next guy up. What are your thoughts on the next guy up after Trump? Who do you think that person could be?
A lot of that's going to depend, but I'll say a lot of people also think DeSantis is going to be the guy in 2024, especially the establishment Republicans and the mainstream media and establishment Democrats are certainly trying to make that the case. Gavin Newsom's sure trying to make it against him versus DeSantis. So, let's. I'm just trying to survive 2022.
Well, hopefully
Trump's. Yeah, let me finish the thought. Hopefully Trump's 2024. I'm not even thinking 2028. That's a long ways off.
Well, Trump, age-wise, I think it's 2024 or bust for him. That said, DeSantis is the first name that comes to mind for most people in most conversations, and I get why. And I'm not going to argue one way or the other with DeSantis. I like him for a number of reasons. But that said, you never know. And what I mean by that is this. Did you see Trump coming in 2016?
Okay, so
we don't know who's on the bench that may be ready to roll that might be a surprise too.
I'll give you a name. If she lives up to what she's saying, Carrie Lake.
That's exactly who
Carrie
I was
Lake,
thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I think she would have to. Yeah, she's gonna have to prove herself in most people's minds, but I think that's a good possibility. Absolutely, I like her a lot.
I absolutely agree. That's what I actually said that in text. I have proof of it. I said it in text on Saturday.
Carrie Lake ought to be that person on the bench.
No, I actually think I like her better than and I'm not just because she's Arizona, but I like her better than DeSantis.
Well, here's my litmus test. If the establishment Republicans like the person, I probably don't. They hate Carrie Lake, so I'll go.
That is yeah, and the louder the media screams about someone, usually the more I like them too.
That's usually a pretty good contrary indicator.
I didn't mean to derail the conversation because we've already. Fine. I just wanted to get your quick take on that because it was a thought that crossed my mind.
Well, great minds think alike. Sometimes.
I know a little bit about Carrie Lake, but I really didn't get a chance to see her in action, listen to a speech, all that, till about a week ago. And I do have to say that from what I've learned, I am very impressed. Now, Tracy, please don't let Kamala be the first woman president.
You may not have a choice with that one.
We'll see what happens.
Steph.
We'll
Can
see
she
what
do-
happens.
Does that mean the Democrats are going to have to define what a woman is?
Well, while we haven't had a woman president yet, we have had a male not vice president. I'm sorry, first lady. So, or as I like to say, when Trump became president, it was nice to have a president that has a pair and a first lady that doesn't.
Actually, as I have come to understand, we have already had our first female president operating behind the scenes, and that was Hillary in the 90s.
That would be a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Well, there would be some people that say Woodrow Wilson's wife was basically doing an awful lot of the work for him when he was pretty much.
Well, when he was disabled, yes, but in terms of people who, as I understand it, Bill wasn't really he didn't really care one way or the other, but it was Hillary who lusted for the power.
Well, she was also the true progressive. He was more concerned about his legacy, and that's why he was willing to work with Republicans in Congress. He was willing to go kind of towards the middle because legacy was important to him, and he realized that being too crazy would not be a good legacy.
Well, I think a lot of people undersell who Bill Clinton was. The man was a Rhodes Scholar, which means he trained in Europe under the Cecil Rhodes Scholarship, which was all about
allegedly.
No, it's 100%. It's not allegedly. That's 100% factual. And so was his number two guy, Strobe Talbot. Him and Bill Clinton were Rhodes Scholars together. And if you look up the history of the Rhodes Scholarship and who Cecil Rhodes was and what the Rhodes Trust said,
I know what that was.
Rhodes Scholars. Yeah, these are the globalists. These people were intent on global domination. That's Bill Clinton. That's who he got his marching orders from.
In class. That's why he didn't follow through with a lot of the globalist stuff. But he was real good at making sure that China got American stuff. All right, real quick, because we got about 3 minutes, and I can go through Amendment 23 in that amount of time. I kid you not, because it's real easy. The district constituting the seat of government of the United States shall appoint in such manner as Congress may direct a number of electors of president and vice president equal to the whole number of senators and representatives in Congress to which the district will be entitled if it were a state. It would get 1 representative and 2 senators if it was a state, 3 electoral votes. But in no event shall more than the least populous state, which typically is Rhode Island or, well, it used to be, now it's like Wyoming and North Dakota. But so I don't see Washington, D.C., based on that language, ever having more than 3 electoral votes, unless it, of course, became a state and then suddenly they crammed into Soviet-style housing millions and millions of people. They shall, in addition to those appointed by the states, but they shall be considered for the purposes of election of president and vice president to be electors appointed by a state, and they shall meet in the district and perform such duties as provided by the 12th article of amendment. Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. There was a license plate popular in Washington, D.C. at the time, which said no taxation without representation. This was really an attempt to, number one, appease them, and number two, of course, there was certain political parties that were looking for more electoral votes. And
that's why instead of 535, we've got 538.
Right. And so there you go. That is those amendments. So the 24th and the 25th, 26th, 27th. I think we'll go through all of them next week and finish the Constitution. Then what we can do, as Ron, the Storm Chaser, has suggested, is that we then start fielding questions that are constitutionally considered, but we didn't necessarily go over in detail when we went through the Constitution. That said, one of the things I've been doing on Fridays at 5 p.m. Pacific is the Citizen 1776 has been inviting me to do exactly that. He asked questions, I give answers. Warhamster joined us last Friday. If you want to see the videos, go to politicalpistachio.com, scroll down to last Friday's date, and the last 2 videos are on one post. And this is a growing show. It's I call it the Little Big Show, but it's a lot of fun because one of the things I can say about Andrew, the Citizen 1776, is the types of questions he asks are very much in line with what the average citizen would be asking. He is one of you, and he's asking Mr. Constitution and the Warhamster these questions and asking follow-ups while we're answering because he wants to fully understand. And so for the average person out there that doesn't have a real good grasp on all this stuff, it's a very good show for you, I think. So that's Fridays at 5. I don't have a link yet off the top of my head. I know he wants to assign something easy to remember. Yeah, I think it's something like, I think, I kid you not, I think it's youtube.com/Van Halen 43 or something like that right now.
Give me 1 second and I'll find it for you. I'll post
Yeah.
it. I'll post it in
All
here.
right, very good, yeah. But I will say this, it's a fun show. It's real relaxed. Andrew gets real relaxed with his tank top, but it is a good show because, like I said, he's asking the questions you would ask. And the conversations, and to be honest with you, last week, Warhamster dominated the show because the questions were about, 43 Van Halen, there we go. The questions were more in line with the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, that kind of thing, banking, and Warhamster spent probably, 4/5 of the show talking about this stuff, but it was good stuff. And then, of course, I did my usual little inserts here and there or questions myself, but it's good information. I don't in any way feel like Warhamster overpowered me in any way. Although I do have the Warhamster little footprints on my forehead, but nothing major. No, I'm kidding. Didn't even bother me. No, it really was the Warhamster show, and that was good. Usually it's the Mr. Constitution show. The one before that was all me, but it was good information. So I ask that you guys check it out. Tracy says Warhamster was spot on. That's right, you were there. I remember. Warhamster was educating the masses in ways that even I couldn't do. It was very impressive. That all said, it is 4:02 on the West Coast. And yes, the left coast, that's way to the left. Because we're the left coast, that's what we do.
It's not as far left as you think.
Well, I know they've been stealing it and all that, but I can't say that too much out loud. I might, get a kick in the butt by certain executives at certain companies or something like that. But I will say this: my friend Lauren is from Massachusetts. And it's bad when someone from Massachusetts says, "Yeah, there's no way I'd come to California. It's way too commie." All right, so that all said,
not as bad as you think.
That all said, thank you for spending the time. Well, I got one more thing I gotta say. I gotta say this. Brady Warhamster backed me up on this. Last Saturday, Constitution Day, the Constitution Association, which is the nonprofit that I'm president of, which means I ran a large part of this function. I have to give a special thanks, though, to Sydney and her husband, who pretty much did all the handling of the food, which gave me the ability to really make sure this event went well. The event rocked. It was really good. We had an interview with G. Edward Griffin, which I am going to put online. You will get to see it. I just haven't done it yet. And I'm also going to put videos of all the speakers, so you will get to see these videos. But we had G. Edward Griffin, and then live we had Ruth Weiss, which is co-founder, vice president of the Election Integrity Project California. Go ahead. What were you going to say about her?
She was fantastic.
She was fantastic. Nathan Duell from Heritage Action, which gave a lot of good information. I think he's a little shaky in the Constitution, but I haven't had a chance to teach him yet as much. And then, of course, Alan Myers, my co-host on the KMET program, and also the guy behind For the Republic on Patriot Soapbox, which I'm a guest on quite a bit. Did a presentation on five women of the revolution, and it was just really good. Tracy puts a question mark after. We have election integrity. We're trying. We're trying. But it was a fantastic event, and I had a lot of people come to me. Doug, is the best one you've done yet. I could not have had such a great event without the help that I got. It wasn't because of me. It was because we had great speakers and I had people that were doing stuff that allowed me to focus on making sure the event went right. I didn't have to worry about the food. I didn't have to worry about checking people in. I had volunteers doing that, and it really made for a good event in the long run. So thank you.
And that was videotaped, and you will have that online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have the whole event videotaped, but what I'm going to do is, of course, we're going to leave out the in-between while people are eating and smacking, but I still have to edit that, and also I'm going to do one big video, and then I'm going to do separate ones for each speaker. But I will set them up online so that you get a chance to see it, because not everybody is out here in California able to enjoy the sunny weather, the glorious beaches, the mountains nearby, and the air so thick that you can chew it. So that all said, appreciate it. United we stand. Combined we kick butt. God bless America, my friends. God bless you. We'll see you next week right here on the Mr. Constitution classes. Thank you, Ron Storm Chaser. PoliticalPistachio.com, DouglasVGibbs.com. And then, of course, the final thank you always goes out to Brady, a.k.a. Warhamster. Sir, we'll see you on Thursday.
Very good.
You're making way too much of the Storm Chaser thing.
I'm having way too much fun with it. No, it's not too much. I need to have more fun with it.
I'm gonna have to take Doug's side on. I'm taking Doug's side on this one. I'm cracking up.
Hey, it's okay. Hey, listen. I'm trying to do something to as my profile online grows. I'm trying to remove my last name.
I think I want to make an intro video. I'm going to talk to my friend David about this. For Ron the Storm Chaser.
Whatever.
What do you think, Warham? Do you think David could do something with that?
Okay, it's.
See, he knows what I'm talking about.
I think.
All right, everybody, have a good night.